Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you all for being here. It's very nice to be able to talk to you all a little bit about Apollo and what we've been doing. This is actually a bit of an interesting one. It is true to the name of this conference. We are pure explorer. We haven't quantified resources. We sit 150 kilometres east of Kalgoorlie. There's an overview of our land and it's typical goldfields terrain, scrubby country. That's Lake Rebecca in the background. And we've got a drill rig operating on the left-hand side in the sort of middle distance. We'll just put this up on the website, so please pursue it at your leisure. Our code is AOP. We've been in the minerals game actually for 10 years, but not many of you would have heard of us because we've been focused almost entirely in that time in West Africa, in the country of Côte d'Ivoire. But early on in the history of Apollo, when we transitioned into minerals, we had the Lake Rebecca project sitting on the books. I liked it because it had a big geochemical footprint and had some very strong work done in the 90s by people like Aberfoyle who knew what they were doing, and we inherited a really nice database. But it wasn't, due to the distractions of Côte d'Ivoire and the gold we're finding over there, it wasn't until August in 2017 we finally put the drill hole into what was a long-standing target that we had on the page, and we brought up close to 60 metres of that material you can see on the right-hand side. Now that assayed, I think it was 47 metres at almost 5 grams and some higher grades around as well. So exceptional intercept. It changed everything. Since then we've divested the lion's share of the West African assets into a very strong partner, and I'll talk about those guys. And we've spent a fair bit of time and effort in the last 18 months. We drilled 15,000 metres of RC and diamond into this discovery last year, and we probably hope to double that this year. It's at the point where we've established ourselves multiple mineralised surfaces. The best of them is called Jennifer, and I'll go into that in some detail, but that has got some terrific grades, and that drives, that'll be the engine room of any potential commercial outcome. We're open in all directions at the moment, and we see plenty of potential to add on additional discoveries as we go. A little bit about us. I've been in the business of exploration for almost 30 years actually, and with a range of companies from majors through to juniors. Tony James, we're very lucky to get on board. I'm sure a lot of you in the room will know Tony. He took a close look at this Rebecca discovery and saw it had similarities to things he'd mined in the goldfields in the past. He's a Kalgoorlie boy, knows his way around. Roger Steiner-Price is well known. He's from Steiner-Price-Pagan, and we've worked together for many decades. We've got a market cap of about 40 million plus or minus. We're bouncing around the 15 to 30 cent mark. We've got about 6.2 million in the bank at the moment, so we're not short of funds. We can drill through the remainder of this year. We've also got listed assets from the remaining West African assets that come in at about $6 million in listed equity, giving us an enterprise value of about 26 million. Now, the reason we've really focused attention in West Australia is because of the reward you get for operating that close to Kalgoorlie. The left-hand side of our share price chart there, back in 2016, was the West African RC and air core drilling. It was very successful, but we're a long way from home, and you can see what happened when we started drilling out Rebecca. So there's a lot of technical stuff in here. We're excited by it, so I'll talk to the geology in some level and the complexity that we're seeing in this thing. It's a fascinating bit of geology. 150 kilometres east of Kalgoorlie, at the southern end of the Laverton tectonic zone. It's a very seriously endowed belt, especially up in the Laverton area, tens of million ounces in that part of the world. Now, structures continue southward all the way through Pinjin, and they terminate and tail out into granite country to the south of us. We're right on the edge of the greenstone belt, so we're in the deepest part of what was an old, partially eroded belt. So we're up in the high metamorphic grade facies. A really strange place to find gold, but the structural preparation is there, and that's what counts. In the neighbourhood, we've got Saracen's Kara Sudan operation. That's about 55 kilometres to the northwest. and we heard earlier from Breaker Resources, they're about the same distance to the southwest. And in terms of getting there, the access road from Kalgoorlie through to Tropicana runs through Pingen to the north, so we're pretty well situated. Now, the image on the right-hand side, that's magnetics, and it looks as though, if anyone's familiar, it looks like a typical greenfields, goldfields magnetic feature. A lot of character in there. You can see folding, and there's hot colours and cold colours. In reality, it looks like granite on the ground. It's slightly strained granodiorites. The strongly magnetic features are what's left of ultramafic and mafic rocks. Now, superimposed on that image is the geochemistry that we know it. When we purchased the property, we had Duke and Redskin on the page, and there'd been 150 odd RC holes completed at Duke and Redskin, and very few, maybe half a dozen holes up at Rebecca. And the reason was Duke and Redskin are exposed to surface, big soil anomaly, all the traditional tools worked. But as you go up to the northeast, you go into transported cover, and really it's one of those new discoveries where the regolith profile is completely stripped. Only RC drilling finds these things. The Salt Lake's to the east of us, and that's probably why I've got nothing in the regolith. So I'm going to spend some time up at Rebecca now. We'll zoom into that. That's the surface plan, still with the magnetics underneath and some structures. The yellow shapes there are where we project lodes to surface. You can see Jennifer lode there, that's where these terrific results have come out of the page. And they're exceptional. You don't see a lot of these around, especially new intercepts in the paddock. And you can see why we've spent a fair bit of time here since. As we've been progressing the drill out of Jennifer, which is, it's a curved surface, it's got a very strange shape. We've been heading north and south, and we've found a couple of other lodes as we go. Jennifer northeast has got almost a completely different orientation. It dips to the west and it's convoluted. And then Laura seems to be quite a planar sheet of mineralisation. Selected intercepts for both of those. Laura's about 15 metres true width. Jennifer's complicated, but we don't really understand it, but there's some very wide intercepts in there. Another view of the three surfaces. This time we're looking sort of obliquely towards the northwest. You can see Jennifer lode and some of the intercepts we've put into Jennifer, and I've attached those to drill strings. The core on the left-hand side, that's what the 17 metres at 15 grams looks like. Now Jennifer lode's looks like a baseball mitt. It's a very strange shape. It's folded, it's twice folded, and you can see that complication moves through into Jennifer, and Laura at the moment looks very planar, and I'm sure we'll find some complexity in there as we go. Now I hope this works. So it's nice to see things in 3D. So we're looking at west now, and we're heading towards the south end of the deposit. This is all drilling, so we haven't been selective here. Looking from south to north now through the Jennifer lode discovery, you can see the colours on the drill strings. There's a lot of gold in that particular slab of rock. Rotating round, the blue colours there are plus 0.1, so you can see we're in a big anomalous system. There's a lot of gold around. It's really quite a serious discovery, and one of the better ones I've been involved in over the journey. A much more traditional view of a discovery is looking at it through these long sections. The bullet holes here are where the sum of the gold through a surface. You can see in Jennifer lode in particular, we're up in the 100 gram metres. These are serious intercepts, and we've got good continuity in there. Laura lode is slightly lower grade, but we've got good thickness, so the gram metres are reasonably good up there, and we still haven't found the limits of that system. The drill rig's still going, of course. We're putting pierce points into Laura, which is largely unconstrained. We will bring the diamond rigs back into Jennifer to look for structural repeats and remakes of those grades. And we've got this hint of a south plunge that we are working on some structural ideas and trying to track that plunge through what appears to be another structural offset to the south of us. Some more photos of the rock. It's beautifully competent material. They break it to put it in the core trays. It's a pyrrhotite, pyrite, chalcopyrite free gold system. The alteration is subtle. It's got some silicification. We lose some of the textural details in what would otherwise be a granodiorite host rock. It's not related to quartz veins. It's not a clay profile. It's very much a completely new fresh rock greenfields discovery. We don't understand the distribution of the high grades and the free gold, but whenever we see free gold, obviously it's a good precursor. Slicing it a different way, some sections. This is just the Jennifer lode itself. You can see at the south end, we're overturned to the east. The central part of the lode is near vertical, and then by the time you get to the north, it goes very flat to the west. So this thing is really quite complicated, but the continuity on section to section is very good. And it doesn't matter how you cut these things, the true width is in the 15 metres plus. There's an intercept there on the right-hand side, 59 metres at 3, and it's almost at right angles to the lode. Stepping further north, this is a complex area at Jennifer Northeast. It's somewhat parallel to drilling, so it's hard to get a real fix on this, but you can see it at this orientation. It lends itself to open pit mining, and then there's a slice through Laura, which is very much a traditional west dipping slab of rock. Now, we're not operating at Rebecca in isolation, and the lode's up there. To the south, it's 4 kilometres to Redskin. We have geochemical trends that tell us that we should do two things. A, follow stratigraphy, and B, follow the north and northeast trending structural set that has overprinted what must have been very early folding. We're in the process now of starting to unpick the Redskin complexity, but are really excited about the potential to find another Jennifer in terms of grade in the complexity around that, the nose of that south plunging fold there. There's appears to be multiple surfaces down there. There's a look at one of the surfaces. It's got the wide envelope. It's got sort of 1 to 2 gram material. Duke, the same, appears to be a solid slab of 1.5 grams, and that's in long section views, only got a handful of pierce points into it. So starting to wrap it up, we're on to most definitely a live discovery. They don't come very often. We're at the inner belts that's the southern end of the Laverton tectonic zone. It's the sort of place where we can hide these things. In terms of development potential, there's no particular impediments. The beauty of this thing and what we've found so far is Jennifer and the grades that are in there and the volumes, they drive potential commerciality. We're not quantified, we're too early to do that. We're at the busy end of drilling this thing out. We're doing the exciting stuff. The good news is we've found multiple surfaces over about 600 metres of strike now, and this is the stuff that we've just spun around in the wireframe. The prospect itself is over 1.3 kilometres long, and we haven't found the end of it. So drill, drill, drill. It's going to be a busy year. We've got a rig out there at the moment. We're aiming to up that to multiple rigs. For investors, steady news flow. We've got some other tools in process. We did some IP work, which I'll talk to the market about in a couple of days' time. And all going well, we'll be aiming for quantification of the scale of this thing by the end of the year. Now, it's important to talk about West Africa. Côte d'Ivoire is a fantastic place to explore. We were having a good deal of success over there. Luckily for us, we found a partner in Exoro Resources. They had plenty of money but no real focus. They've really taken the bit between the teeth with those permits. We've sold 80% of the permits outright to them. We retained 20% free carry to decision to mine. That's important carry. They have $14 million, I think, in the kitty at the moment, and they are giving it a real shake. As part of that transaction, we hold 90 million of their shares. It's worth about $6 million, I think, at the moment, and the intention is that we hand those off in specie to shareholders. And we're just getting the tax advice on that. Again, hopefully within a week or so, we'll have some paperwork out, notice of meeting, etc., and a timeline for that. So that's come entitlement. The other thing we still retain over there, and it's been in the news recently as well, is a 1.2% royalty over 430,000 ounces at 2.3 grams in central Côte d'Ivoire. Newcrest owns it. They've just agreed to transact it to Roxgold Resources, who's a Canadian producer in Burkina Faso. It's right in their sweet spot. It appears small, but it looks eminently mineable. We see reasons why this will be monetised in the near term. So that's us. We're one of the few stories that's finding things in the paddock, in the goldfields. It's an exciting place to be. We're going to be drilling like crazy. We're well funded. We won't be bothering the shareholders for money at the moment. Very lean and focused, and the money gets well spent. Very few misses in our drill patterns. We've got free carried and royalty interests in West Africa, which we're happy with. We plan to do what might be seen as a dividend in the near term, and we've had very strong news flow for the year. That's it. Thank you. Any questions? Please visit us at the booth.